Hi guys, it is Thursday, day 4. We've made it this far. Well done, everybody. As you can hear, I'm sounding a little bit better. It's definitely coming through now. It's typical. It's the only cold I've had this winter, and it happened to coincide with this week. So thanks for bearing with me. For those that don't know, haven't seen any of the videos so far, my name's Claire Elms. I'm an emotional wellbeing consultant, therapist, and life coach. So this week has all been about sleep and how to help you improve your sleep, because I feel like as soon as your sleep is better, other things feel much more manageable and it feels much easier to get back in the swing of things. So day 1 was all about what is sleep and looking at kind of where your sleep's at currently. Day 2 was about goal setting and looking at what you want to achieve, and looking at sleep diaries. Wednesday was all about, day 3 was all about building your sleep drive and how to set your body clock and looking at your arousal. And today there was a few cute questions that I'm going to answer. Obviously, if anyone wants to drop in and ask any questions, feel free. I'm going to run through the sleep diaries, and I'm going to talk to you about an exciting opportunity that is coming up if you wish to accept it. So, thinking about your sleep diaries, I've got the printout here so we can go through it together. I know that there was a few questions on like how to fill it out and things like that, so I thought I would kind of run through that a little bit. So obviously with the aim of the sleep diary is to look at patterns. When we look at patterns, we can, after 2 weeks of filling these in, we get a really good idea of where you're at, and what we can do is then create what we call a time in bed prescription, which is how to get the most, how to sleep the most optimum for you, based on like your 2 weeks that you've given us. So it's about looking at really unpicking the sleep quality that you've got, looking at where there are any issues and things like that going forward. Then we can really help you kind of start to move forward with your sleep in a more productive way. So there are 2 main ways that we do that. We do that through looking at what we call stimulus control approaches and sleep restriction approaches. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But those are the kind of the 2 main things that we focus on when we're looking at how to improve your sleep every week. So what I need to know, and what would be really good for you to know to start to look at patterns for yourself, is like what time you got into bed, but actually what time you got to, like when you tried to go to sleep and when you actually got to sleep. Because what we know is that sometimes we get into bed, we'll watch a program on telly or we'll read a book or something. So sometimes when we get into bed, we're not actually trying to go to sleep. It shouldn't take any longer than 30 minutes to fall asleep. So when it does, that's when we need to kind of unpick what's going on there. So the idea of looking at that is looking at how long it's taking you to go to sleep. And then we can do some of the things that we suggested yesterday. So if you're trying sort of for 30 minutes or more, I would suggest that you get up, try and do something else and then come back into bed later on and try again. And it's also focusing on how many times we woke during the night. So it's really helpful to start to get a bit of a pattern of like how, some people often say, and I've done the same myself, like where you wake up at the set time. Like I always used to wake up at 3 o'clock, for instance. So some people like have a set time that they often wake up, and it's partly down to our body clocks and how our body clocks have been, but also partly down to looking at just general kind of patterns in our sleep and looking at our sleep drive. So that's why we want to know about that, and looking at how long you're awake for. Obviously, for those who have young children, me included, sometimes the children wake us up, so it's like sometimes it's not necessarily you're doing as well. So it's always useful to know whether you've woken up or whether the children have woken you up, to get a bit of a sense of that and how long you've been awake for. Just as a side on, I will do something around children's sleep later on. I was hoping to get someone in, but her diary isn't quite matching with mine, so we will look at trying to get something in, or I will do something for you guys. I have supported quite a few children with sleep, so there are some things that I can give you as top tips. So those are the kind of the main things around looking at your sleep patterns and how often you wake up. And then the last bit is about if you woke up earlier than planned and what time you got out of bed. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really bad at getting out of bed in the mornings. I wake up, I need a good 15 minutes to get myself physically out of the bed. Again, it's looking at those sort of things, like how easy it is for you to get up. Like, how do you wake up? Do you wake up with an alarm? Do you wake up with human alarms? Like, how does it work for you? And, you know, looking at your day, following on from that, how that functions. You know, all of this stuff is very subjective. So we, sleep is a construct. So there is no kind of clear measurement of sleep. Obviously some Fitbits and trackers and stuff are a good indication, but they don't give you that sense of like quality of sleep necessarily, and they're not always 100% accurate. It's good as a bit of a guide, but you know, quite often we're not 100% accurate either, but we have a bit more of a sense of what's going on for ourselves. And it's quite often our perception that triggers a lot of how we feel about sleep as well. So rather than being told about it through a tracker device, it's quite useful to have it as a personal thing. So looking at your sleep, was it good, poor, fair, you know, really good? Getting a bit of a sense of like what your sleep quality felt like from when you woke up and how refreshed you feel. Some people like that are early birds. I know there was quite a few in the group when we were chatting about that the other day. You know, will feel probably more refreshed than others in the morning. So, but through the day, you know, thinking about generally how refreshed you felt. I know from our end this week has not been a great example because we've all been ill. So we've all been up and down. Like last night was the first night that I had a really good night's sleep. So I feel much more refreshed and regenerated today. So, you know, it's looking at those sorts of things, and quite often we get a bit more of a sense of it when we're there as well. So having a look, those are the kind of the main things in terms of your sleep that I'm interested in. And those are the bits that we can work out how long you've been in sleep, how long you've been in bed for, and then we can score your sleep efficiency. So like, you know, if you've been in bed for 10 hours but you've only slept 4 of them, then you're not going to have a very high sleep efficiency. Whereas if you've been in bed for 6-7 hours and you've slept for that whole time, it's a much higher sleep efficiency. So that's kind of what we're aiming for, is looking at that side of things. And then the other bit is about shifting our mindset. We know that a lot of this stuff is 80% mindset. You know, anything that there is an issue for, 80% of it is all about our mindset, how we feel about it. So to start to shift our thinking around our sleep, I think I kind of touched on that through the week, where we've said, you know, like I've always thought I was a bad sleeper, I was a light sleeper, that's just how it is. You know, I struggled with sleep for years, and I think it's so many people, you know, there's some really high stats around people actually not going to the doctor when they get poor sleep and just accepting it, you know, as part of their life. But actually sleep is so important, and so changing how we think about our sleep will start to shift how we feel about it and how our sleep behaviours work as well. So again, on a daily basis, looking at the situation where you started to think about sleep. So what, you know, was it, oh, it's bedtime, or was it like I feel really tired, or, you know, those sorts of things, starting to think about that kind of what the trigger is for you about going to sleep, and kind of like looking at your mood, looking at where we're at with our mood, I think is a really important thing to think about before we go to sleep. If we've struggled to wind down and we're still feeling really angry, we're quite unlikely to go to sleep. You know, we need to get ourselves into a place where we're feeling calm and relaxed to enable sleep to kind of come naturally. So, you know, and again, what are we thinking about in relation to sleep? So all of those things I was talking about just then, you know, that actually I know I'm going to be up in the night, I know I'm not going to get to sleep, blah, blah, blah. All these things that we tell ourselves, these little sort of sleep stories that we have, can be really powerful in terms of what stops us from actually getting very far with our sleep, because it's almost like if you're telling yourself so much that you're not going to sleep, guess what? You won't sleep. So it's those sort of thoughts that we're talking about, and whether we view it as fact or not. So thoughts are thoughts, but when we view them as fact, we give them a kind of a belief part about them, and we really kind of push them into kind of momentum, and that can be really detrimental if it's a negative thought. So looking at the evidence behind it, you know, oh, I can never sleep, but then actually you do fall asleep. You know, there's not many people that have no sleep in the world. So, you know, there are times when you can sleep. So it's looking at that a little bit more and finding the evidence for that. So looking at the reasons why it is true, the reasons why it isn't true. It's a bit of a kind of, you're weighing up your mind, if you like, you're weighing up your mindset, and it starts to shift your mind because you're like, actually, no, that isn't true, because there are times when I do fall asleep. So yeah, and starting to think about more helpful thoughts around that. So, you know, I'm learning to become is a really good phrase for people that have really struggled to fall asleep. I'm learning to become, or I'm able to learn, or something like that. We'll start to, it's what we call a bridging statement. It helps to kind of bridge the gap between, so many people view that we just need to think the opposite thought, like I can sleep and it will happen, and it doesn't necessarily, if it's so opposite to where you're at, it's not necessarily going to be true, and it's not going to be how you feel. So by literally thinking, okay, I do believe that is the case, I can learn to do that, it's a bridging statement to what you can get to. And you know, quite often we need those bridging statements to start to make those changes, and then when we make those changes we can see that it's working. So, and then it's like rating your mood again. So once you've done that process, it's a bit of a kind of a little journey that you take your mind on. We call it journaling. There's lots of different ways that you can do it, but it kind of takes you through this journey and process to start to think, you know, actually I can do this, and I know I feel calmer because I'm able to do it. So those are your sort of sleep diaries. I want to know how long you're sleeping. So yeah, so you're going to bed time and your waking up time are really important, and how long you're asleep for and things like that, because that will start to help us like create this pattern of like what your sleep is like. I'm going to take a breath there. So thinking about your sleep diaries, I hope that's answered people's questions because they just wanted a little bit of clarification. So that's that. The other really exciting thing that I wanted to share with you is that the doors are now open for my sleep course. So if you have enjoyed this week and you've got quite a lot out of it, and you've realised that actually there's some really practical things that you can start to work on, then I can definitely support you with this process. So, you know, as I said, you know, if we've been sleeping badly for 10 years or something, we're not just going to magically fix it over a 4-day blast, but hopefully this 4 days has really helped you to start to question different things that you do. Oh dear. So yeah, so I'm basically off the back of this challenge, I really wanted to be able to offer you an opportunity to actually make the changes yourself and start to make the shifts. So I want you to imagine that it's the 11th of June and you have done this 8-week course with me and you're actually managing to sleep, and just imagine like actually how good that feels for you, because you know, we know this stuff, we know that sleep's been a problem for us, and we know how much it impacts on our lives, but yet it's really hard to make those shifts and make those changes. Bear with me. So the course is an 8-week course. I'm offering it in 2 different ways. So I'm offering it that if somebody wants to sign up to it and they want to do it bespoke with me on a one-to-one basis, they can sign up one-to-one 8-week program, and it's a bargain price at the moment for early birds at $640. That gives you 8 weeks of one-to-one coaching. It gives you the program access on the portal. It gives you everything that you need to make the changes for yourself around your sleep. So the sleep we are going to be doing, we're going to be covering stimulus control. So we're going to be covering sleep restriction. So those are the things that we've been talking a little bit about during the week around the strategies that you can put in place. So restricting your time in bed to enable you to have a better quality sleep in bed, to repair your bed with sleep, to then be able to move forward and increase that as we go through the weeks. The stimulus control part is making sure that your bedroom, that your activities, that your lifestyle is everything is on par, and you're able to your sleep drive is enough. So it's kind of both things. So we're looking at managing the body clock through the sleep restriction and managing the sleep drive through the stimulus control. So those are the kind of really key things that we're going to be focusing on week in, week out, every week, doing the diaries, working out what's good, what's not so good, what's worked well, what's not, is there a pattern in what's happening for you, and slowly increasing or decreasing your time in bed prescription effectively. So that's what we would do on a one-to-one basis. We also do quite a lot around calming your mind, loads of stuff around mindset, because actually what we know is that a lot of this stuff is around to do with our mindset and how we feel about things, how we process our day. All of that stuff comes into that area. So that's the one-to-one. I'm only offering 3 spaces on the one-to-one, so it is proper exclusive, so get in if you're interested in the one-to-one. The main program I'm going to be doing is a group program. It is very affordable for people. It's £179 for this early bird price. So the early bird prices will be on until next Friday, so you have a week, and then it will go back up a bit more. So, if you're interested, do get involved. Please do ask any questions, book in a discovery call if you want to talk it through any more. What the group course will be the same, it's the same content, so you'll get access to the app, which will have weekly scheduled things in there around what we're going to be doing, focusing on different educational side of things around like lifestyles and around different things that we can do, practical tips. And then you're going to have a group coaching session, which will be slightly different to the one-to-one. You will actually swap diaries, and this is really powerful, because what that does is, you'll get to know each other really well. There will only be 6 to 8 of you in the group. I'm not going to have a big group. So it will be really, really small. You'll swap with one other person, and quite often it's much easier to hear stuff from somebody else than it is from me and from yourself. So, you guys will have a look at your diaries. You will go, okay, well, how about trying this? How about trying that? We will all talk about it together, and I will give you that bespoke coaching as well. Quite often, we all go through the same processes at some point as well, so you can learn off of each other. It's a really powerful way of learning something new. I find group work really, really positive in that sense. Obviously, you don't have to share what you don't feel comfortable with, but it is a confidential space, so what you share in the space isn't going to be shared amongst other people, and everyone will be signed up to that process. So those are the kind of the 2 courses that I've got going. They're going to be starting the week of the 19th of April, so after the school holidays. Gives everybody a chance to practice with this approach, to start to understand the sleep diaries a little bit, to get your head into it, to start to work out, what changes you might need to make, get your goals up and running. Feel free to book in a call with me. We can talk through that stuff together, and then we can get you up and running, ready to go on the 19th. As well as that, I'm also offering you some freebies, because I know everyone loves a freebie. I will be offering the switching off your mind process, so a little freebie to help you unwind at night time, a journaling task similar to kind of what we've been talking about, but a space to really help you kind of log your thoughts before bed, so it doesn't kind of go round and round in circles at bedtime. And a self-care booklet, a self-care freebie, because let's be honest, if we're doing more self-care, we will naturally, other behaviours such as anxiety and stress will naturally decrease. So a lot of the work I've done before around sleep hasn't been tackling the sleep as such. It's been dealing with bits of the sleep, but it's been more around that actually, why are you not sleeping? And so we will be tackling some of that as well. And there's a self-care booklet to help you start to think about what you can put in place to support yourself during that time. I'm also going to be offering you a progressive relaxation on an audio. as soon as my voice is healed, I will get that recorded and get that out to you as well. So you've got 3 freebies, you've got the 8-week course. It's an absolute bargain, and if you think by the middle of June you will then be, you know, sleeping so much better, you'll be able to manage your week better because you'll be sleeping better, and you will just naturally be feeling so much better and ready for taking on whatever's thrown your way, because let's be honest, we can't stop what comes our way. So it is about kind of looking at the bits that we can control, and things like sleep we can actually control really well. And I think when we're struggling to sleep, we feel like we can't control that side of things, and that's we kind of almost give up on it, you know, like, oh well, that's just how it is. I know I did that for years and was like, oh well, I'm just not a sleeper, I'm just a really bad sleeper, it's just how it is for me. But actually, like, doing a lot of these approaches, it really does help. It's helped me massively. I was sleeping like 4 or 5 hours a night, and I'm now sleeping between 6 and 8 most of the time. You know, obviously if you have children, you'll know that that's not a given, and that there's always something that crops up, and you know, there'll be times where, you know, things within your sleep are not in your control, but there's also lots of things that we can do to make our sleep the best that it can be. So so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. If there's any questions that you want to ask, pop them in this thread, or pop them in the group, or message me privately. I know quite a few of you have been messaging me privately. I appreciate it's quite a difficult thing to make a comment on a group like this, but I know that you guys have been watching it. I hope it's been a helpful week for you. I'd love to know your takeaways, and I'd love to know like how you found the week. If you're watching this on replay, please put #replay so that I know that you're there and you're looking at it. I'd love to know from you guys like the one takeaway that you've had from the week. It would be great to hear, like, you know, how you found it, what you found helpful, what you hadn't really considered before, because I know a lot of this is about bringing stuff into your awareness that you perhaps didn't really think about before. And I think for me, when I first learnt about all of this stuff, it was very much about actually understanding that before all of this, I just thought, well, if I'm tired, I'll just rest during the day. But actually, it's so counterintuitive to do that. And that's the biggest thing that I've learned through doing this sort of stuff. So I hope that you have got something out of it. Obviously, if you want to get in touch around the courses, do let me know. I'll open up my diary to book in some slots if you want to get in touch. I will be badgering you and talking with you a little bit about it over the next couple of weeks, but I'm also taking a bit of time to be with my daughter for school holidays. So there will be limitations to what I can offer you guys, but I definitely want to help you. So if you're on the fence and you're not sure, I know quite often we think about money and we think about, you know, it might not work for me, and there's all these things that we kind of tell ourselves, and it is just a mindset stuff. It's your mind fearing, like, well, what happens if I actually do it? And so it is like, you know, feeling the fear and doing it anyway if it's something that is really important to you. So that's all I wanted to share. I hope you're okay. I hope you've had a good week. It's been great being here this week with you guys, and I look forward to speaking with you very soon. Take care. Bye.